Since I started talking about my autism on social media, I think the most common theme of, I guess, like negative or misunderstanding comments that I receive are, you don't look autistic, you don't seem autistic. And to be honest, like at first it was really challenging to receive these messages and receive these comments when I'm just trying to figure out who I am and what my autism means to me. And I think that early on in my journey of first being diagnosed with autism and then trying to figure out what that means to me and how that affects me and how I can start validating myself in that, it was really challenging and it was extremely invalidating to receive comments like that. And I still do receive comments like that pretty often, at least once or twice a week, depending on, what kind of content I'm posting and what kind of video or what sort of subjects I'm talking about. And I think that it's just a really important thing for people to understand. And I wish that more people had an understanding of this, is that autism doesn't have one look. There are as many looks to autism as there are autistic people. I think that a lot of people in society, when they think of autism, they think of how it's been portrayed in the media. They think of it as usually someone who is nonverbal or mostly nonverbal, very covert stimming behaviors. And as someone who has masked a lot of my autistic traits for my whole life, and as someone whose autism might be a little bit more subtle on the outside, I may not seem like someone who's autistic to people who don't really have an understanding of autism or who only understand autism in one or two types of individuals. And let's just make something clear that most of our autistic experiences are not able to be seen on the outside. And even the external expression of my autistic traits, they're easily disregarded oftentimes. Maybe it's due to my ability to speak in full, complete sentences and to put thoughts together and to even like show up on camera like this. And so I can definitely see why, if someone doesn't have a good grasp of the autism spectrum, if someone doesn't really actually understand what autism is, how it affects autistic individuals, they might look at me and be like, there's absolutely no way you're autistic. And when I see those comments now, it's more of kind of like, it ignites a passion within me to spread more awareness of autism and to speak even more about my autistic experience, just to show that I don't necessarily seem like the way that autism has been portrayed in the media, and that autism is in fact a spectrum. And on that autism spectrum are so many unique autistic individuals. And all of us on the autism spectrum, of course, share the similarities in our autism that are a part of the diagnostic criteria. Challenges with socializing, challenges understanding socializing, maybe some sensory challenges, very like rigid thinking styles, stimming behaviors, like I mentioned, very a very unique and passionate set of interests. And the thing is that a lot of those things might not really be seen on the outside, especially through me talking to the camera. And I will be the first one to say that the way I show up on social media is actually different than the way I show up in real life. I feel so much more comfortable sitting here and having a conversation with the camera because there is not a dialogue, there's not a back and forth, there's not the sensory overload of being in a unfamiliar or just an overwhelming environment. And so, of course, I'm way more talkative in these videos. In real life, unless I am like extremely comfortable and unless I like know exactly what to expect with the person I'm communicating with, I'm almost silent. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to interact, and it's very unnatural for me. And it's just a really important reminder for all of us, whether we do understand the autism spectrum or maybe we don't, to just not judge people as much. The world needs less judgment, because who are we to say that we know someone better than they know themselves? I may not seem like the stereotypical version of autism, and that's okay, but that doesn't mean that I'm not autistic. And I think that this commonly happens, especially, and I think it's worth mentioning, in females on the autism spectrum, and then people of color on the autism spectrum. I think a lot of the ways that autistic traits present in females could be easily brushed off as other things. Oh, you're just being extra. You're just being too sensitive. And then in like people of color, I think that there's definitely a prejudice there amongst society where their autistic behaviors might be seen as more dangerous or being more aggressive. And I mean, I say it all the time, but I just wish we could get to this place in society where there is more love, and not even where everyone understands each other, because I think that's probably impossible due to all of our unique experiences as over like 8 billion people on the planet, but where we can at least like seek to understand one another and listen to one another and just do our best to try to see where everyone is coming from and to see why people are the way that they are. And so, no, autism doesn't have one look. Autism doesn't mean that I'm going to be sitting here flapping my hands. Autism doesn't mean that I'm going to be sitting here completely silent. It could mean those things, but there is so much more to having an autistic brain than what is seen on the outside. I often describe my internal experience as very rich, very structured in an almost chaotic way. And I think that if you understand what I'm talking about, you'll understand what I'm saying here. It's hard to put into words. It's like my brain categorizes things and structured things, but it's in a chaotic way because I'm like it feels like I'm taking in everything from all my senses and trying to put the pieces together where I can, but it also leaves a lot of gaps. And so a few things that I want you to get from this video is, one, try not to judge people, especially without knowing them. And number two, understand that everyone on the autism spectrum is unique and different in their own way. And just because they don't seem like the type of autism that you're familiar with, it doesn't mean that they're not autistic.